change.
Yeah, I know. It's not as vibrant.
Yeah.
Good morning. Wanted to talk to everybody. We watched the last Star Wars last night, Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. And so I'll try not to give too many spoilers, but for anyone that hasn't seen it and wants to see it, you may have a spoiler. I'm not sure. But the reason I wanted to make a video is because last night there was a lot of things running through my head, a lot of connections to various things that I've been reading lately, that I've been contemplating on, asking for guidance about, and then they show up in the movie. And so anytime I've seen, like, when I've asked a question about anything and, like, I'm listening maybe to the radio and a song comes on, or when I'm watching a movie or I see an advertisement or I'm reading a book or someone randomly says something that I overhear, and it directly relates to something that I've been contemplating, I always take that as the confirmation, so to speak. But when I was watching the Star Wars movie, I just wanted to say, first and foremost, there's so many levels to what it can represent to various people. And so to me, it was highlighting that Rey is becoming or has become a Jedi, and then she's getting training from other Jedi masters, from the first three movies, at least primarily Luke in the second movie. But then it also shows that she was being trained by Leia. And that being said, it made me think that, okay, there's Rey, and then there's Finn, who's starting to recognize and affirm that a force does exist. And they keep talking about a feeling. They say, I don't know why. Well, why do you want to do this? Well, I don't know. I just have this feeling. And they keep talking about a feeling that arises, and that they can't explain that it exists, but they know that the force exists, as Finn is now trying to explain that to some other character in the movie. So for me, it's analogous to people starting to quote unquote wake up. I wouldn't say wake up. I would just say becoming more aware that there's something deeper going on in life that they can't explain, but they can feel it. You can't explain why you have an urge to go do something or to call someone or to, whatever it may be, but you have that feeling that's telling you to do it. That intuition that they call, a mother's intuition. And then at the same time, for people who have acknowledged the force, but then want to train themselves or heighten their abilities, so to speak, they become the masters. And so the masters are teaching the other people. And so it's kind of like in today's society where you have people around the world like the Dalai Lama, you had Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, you had the Buddha, the Christ, whatever you want to talk about. There's various people, various levels of people's understanding where you're teaching other people that are becoming more aware of what connects us. And then the connection for me is God connecting everybody together. And in the Star Wars, that's what they're talking about, the Force. May the Force be with you. And that kind of goes into alignment with may you go in peace, or may peace be with you. And that Force at the end, when Rey's doing her thing, Luke comes into her head, and they have all these different Jedis that are starting to talk to her in her final battle. And Luke says, we were always with you. We never left you. And that gave me a sense of God, that even though we may pinch ourselves off from source, or we loosen our connection or our receptivity of source's voice, so to speak, we were never forsaken. We always had God with us. And so a lot of the times too, you can also see, like in the movie, there's very little resistance and a huge fleet of what they called the First Order, or the Last Order. And so the odds were always against the little fleet, but but what was prevalent and what I've been hearing in my life in a lot of different sources, and then what was in the movie, was they said, we have everything that you need, because they were wondering, how would you do this? And it was actually Harrison Ford talking to Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren said, I don't know. I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. And Harrison Ford told him, you have everything you need. And that's what I've been hearing in a lot of things, is that we have everything we need to transform individually and collectively. And then let me see. What was the last thing I wanted to say? Oh, with any movie, there's two prevalent things. You're starting to see a lot more in at least the cinematic universes, a female lead or female a heroine. And I think that is very telling that it's becoming more in our consciousness that we have an equality of sorts that should be not only from an ethnic standpoint, between racial classes, if you want to define people as such, but also from a gender standpoint, that we're all equal. And that we all have the uniqueness about ourselves and the ability within ourselves to do great things, and we should recognize that. And we're starting to see that come out in the cinematic universe, especially with Rey, and then I think of Captain Marvel, and then I think of Wonder Woman. That there's an equality that we're starting to recognize and ingratiate into our society. And then the last thing too is that everything's going to be okay. I think a lot of the times we forget that God is all knowing and all powerful. And so when we worry about, about the divine failing or us losing, so to speak, in the long run, we won't lose, because you can see it as much as it is, other than like the movie Saw. Every movie, for the most part, always has the good guy win. And I don't think that's on purpose. I think that is just ingrained in us, that we have a knowledge, a remembering that the good guy is going to prevail, that good or love always overcomes fear. And so it doesn't excuse us from taking responsibility for the state of our world. It doesn't excuse us for taking responsibility for our actions and our thoughts and our feelings and what we say and do to people and to each other and to ourselves. But it does kind of give you like just relax. Even if it doesn't look like everything's okay, everything's going to be okay. So just want to send that to you guys. A lot of things running through my head last night while watching the movie. Fantastic movie. I thought it was the best one out of all 9. But love you guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye, she says. Man, you guys have a good day, okay? All right, see ya.